Good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. Yonette. Happy Wednesday. I can't believe it's midweek already, but I know you're having fun just raising your baby and journaling and doing all the fabulous things that you do as you see your baby achieve milestone after milestone. Now, yesterday I started talking with you about vaccines and that at the very birth of your child, there are some vaccines that your child will be given. Today, I want to introduce to you our guest, Dr. Domer, who is going to share with us a little more details about vaccines and their impact on our lives. Now, Dr. Domer is a medical doctor by training. He is a scientist by practice and has developed many vaccines towards helping humankind. Dr. Domer, welcome to Skincare Explosion or My Baby Talk with Dr. Yonette. And I give you this opportunity to share with us, starting by explaining to us what are vaccines and how they impact us.
It is such a wonderful pleasure to be on this impactful program. Dr. Yonette, thank you for your invitation. I am deeply honored to be able to share with your audience. Well, let's first start off with a definition, a working definition of vaccines. Vaccines are immunological agents that are designed to mimic a particular disease to prevent that disease. So that's a simple definition. So it allows the body to stimulate its immunity so that when exposed to that particular disease, it will not allow the body to get sick. And so over the years, there may have been the development of many different types of vaccines, and I'm hoping that the definition I shared with you is something that your audience would understand.
Okay, fantastic. So vaccines are agents that are placed in the body to help us to develop immunity towards diseases.
That's correct.
Okay, fantastic. That's easy to understand. Now, tell us a little bit more about the development of vaccines, the history of vaccines, and how it is played into our culture and our quest towards being healthy and well.
And that is a very loaded question. And just to be brief, a lot of people don't understand that the concept of vaccination has been around for thousands of years. Buddhist monks used to take small amount of snake venom so that they could be immune to snake venom. And they did not understand the medical correlation, but they kind of understood that this was a preventative methodology. Also, the Chinese used to smear cowpox, which is from the cow, on their villagers, and it prevented smallpox. Again, they didn't understand the medical ramifications of what they were doing, or they can see that it worked. In the West, in relationship to Western medicine, it was Jenner in 1796 that took cowpox, and this would not be ethical today, affected a small child with childpox, introduced smallpox to that particular child, and that child did not get sick. So from that particular point on, they recognized that there is a correlation of using part of the viral nature of a particular disease to prevent disease if the person was given to it before they were infected. So many different types of developments that occurred later on. Louis Pasteur in 1897 founded or created the first inactivated anthrax vaccine. And then 1904 also did what's called a cholera vaccine. Cholera is a particular disease which causes diarrhea, and one of the reasons called childhood death in the third world. Later on in the 1950s, there was development of the Sabin and Salk vaccines, which actually use HeLa cells, which came from Henrietta Lacks. which was a Black woman with a very aggressive ovarian cancer, and that allows for the development of that particular vaccine, which is still used today. But to make a long story shorter, vaccines have allowed for the elimination of smallpox, which was eradicated from the earth in 1980, the first human disease to be ever eradicated by humans. And so it has saved the lives of hundreds of millions of individuals that would have gotten disease. And smallpox has killed tens of millions of humans, hundreds of millions of humans over the past 1,000 years. Now it is gone. The next disease that is basically almost eradicated, except for some parts into in Afghanistan and some parts in Africa, it's polio. Polio will be the next disease eliminated, and it was done so by the use of vaccines. Polio causes paralysis, and because of vaccines, that particular scourge has been severely, not severely, happily decreased. Most recently, you have something called Gardasil, which is given to prevent HPV, even in the United States, with the past smear, 3,000 to 5,000 individuals, women still die from this particular disease. And so it has been now prescribed to both women and girls and for boys to hopefully decrease that particular challenge. So you've been talking about vaccines in children. The vaccine regimen that has been developed for children have saved the lives of thousands, millions of children worldwide. I remember when I was young, I got chicken pox. My children didn't have to get chicken pox, and they're better for it because those particular type of disease, even though the body can naturally overcome them, many still succumb to them and they die, or there are serious challenges that are associated with it. For example, with chickenpox, for those who got chickenpox, there's something called Shigella, in which the chickenpox will actually reemerge. So by giving the chickenpox vaccine to children, that means that when they become older, over the age of 50, they won't get disease called Shigella, where the varicella, which is the chickenpox, will not reemerge and now cause problem in the adult. And so coming to this particular point in time, vaccine has been a victim of its own success because we don't see diseases. A lot of people say, you know, let's not take the measles vaccines, but there have been measles outbreaks in the United States because people are not taking the measles vaccine or refuse their children from getting the measles vaccine. And so it's very important that we recognize that these particular interventions have made society much better, have given longevity, a high quality of life. And it's important that we follow the childhood regimen of vaccinations so that we protect our children, we protect our family, and we protect our community.
Oh, community, yes, yes. Quite interesting. I know this information that you have shared will be very valuable to our parents. But, you know, a lot of times our parents raising younger children and even infants are a little skeptical about vaccines. And there are certain myths about vaccines that I would like you to address this morning. And we are addressing these myths because we want to make sure that our children are protected so that they can have the best quality of life as they grow and develop into adulthood. So share with us, Dr. Domer, some of the myths about receiving vaccines.
Yes, and that is something that we need to squash as quickly as possible. The number one myth that have affected vaccines usage within the United States and many places around the world is that there is a tie-in between vaccine and autism. Autism is a spectrum of mentally challenged diseases that affect young people, that prevent them from being able to interact with the world in a normal social method or way. But there's no correlation between vaccines and autism. The vaccine deniers that it leads to this particular disease is based on basically one doctor, one study, and that particular study has been debunked, and it is flawed in its methodology. And so other studies have looked at vaccines throughout the world, because remember, billions of people have been vaccinated. And so they have shown no correlation between autism and vaccines. And so it's very important that we vaccinate our children. Another myth is how the vaccines are developed. A lot of people feel that they have been developed in third world nations that allow for very poor medical practices. And so they don't want to use it because they're associated with this type of development. That is furthest from the truth. Vaccines are developed here in the United States, go through a process called clinical trials, in which is very controlled. There are physicians, there are nurses, there's clinicians, there's a lot of legalese that go involved in the development of a particular vaccine. And so they want to ensure that it is safe. And so that's another myth that needs to be debunked on how vaccines are created.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for being on Baby Talk this morning, Dr. Domer. I think you have given us a lot of information to ponder and to digest as we continue to raise our babies, raise our children, ensure that they are given the correct vaccination dosages at the correct time of their growth and development. And I encourage you, moms and dads, to continue taking care of your baby, journaling, making sure that you're seeing that growth and development taking place appropriately. And if there are any red flags, that you connect with your pediatrician so that you can get the help that you need. Remember to take care of baby. And while you're taking care of baby, don't neglect to take care of yourself. This is Dr. Yonette. Thanking you for joining me this morning and extending a wonderful, wonderful day to you. See you tomorrow for Playtime with Baby.